Hey guys, Coney here, and welcome back to another episode of Love Money Rock and Roll series. Now we last left off at the time that we woke up too late at the episode 4 of the Love Money Rock and Roll series, to the point that on the third episode we received a threat coming from an unknown person, a phone call in the middle of the night, to be careful of who you're talking to or who are you associating with, to the point that he closed all doors and windows and even unplugged the telephone just to make sure that no one could distract him, at the same time make sure that he feels safe at that moment. I had to make a phone call with one of his dad's phone list, his co-workers at the time with the Kobayashi Corporation. So some of the phone numbers that were enlisted in that phone book that his father left him before he died, majority of them left, but some of them may died, until we heard an elderly voice named himself as Ichinose, a friend of Nikolai's father, who recently visited to his funeral at that time, a couple years back. Nikolai decided to ask Ichinose about his father's work. Well, actually that is a bit of lie, to get into the details about his father's work as to what could be the reason behind all of the situation that Nikolai has encountered in all his life, in this age, I would say. I don't know. But Ichinose knows more best than Nikolai. So he just make another note and says, be careful of what you're going into. No, you don't even know what dangers lie ahead of this one. And because of that, he left the phone hanging and left the call, to the point that Nikolai just dumbfounded, as I would say. I don't know what term should I use for that one, but regardless, that explains everything about the situation happening. But the true answer for that one still hasn't uncovered yet, and yet it's still noon. Might as well Himitsu come home early to prepare a meal for him, but Nikolai says, no thank you, I am not a kid anymore, I just gotta go out and buy my own meal instead. So he went back to the bar that happened on the third episode. If you haven't watched those videos before, I'm gonna leave the link in the description below, or maybe just go and click at the top right corner in your screen. Now, going back to the bar, the bartender just gave him a high greeting, and then he went a meal with the steak on it, just a bit of steak, until Michael came in. And they're having a little bit of a small talk about Catherine, the relationship between those two, Nikolai and Catherine to be specific, and to the point that I don't know if Nikolai was completely pissed about Michael's I don't know what word should I say, keep questioning about these two's relationship, and at the same time the bartender's actions to the customers, I would say. But I would say it's more like an appreciation. It's more like an appreciation to me, unlike him. More about appropriation and stuff. I don't know what word should I use for that one. And after that, he went out on a stroll and walked around the high city noon of Tokyo, and then someone just followed him in the middle of the city. And as I mentioned for the previous video, if someone is stalking you or following you in your footsteps, you can just turn around 4 times or more than that. If he's still following you, then call the police and then arrest him, I would say, if he's still onto you, I would say. But I don't know if he saw the police at that moment, so I decided to take the safe option instead of going into the risk option, because that will be a humiliating way to embarrass yourself in the middle of the city, or in the public, I would say. After that, we went into the bar, and I was glad that they added Alyssa from Everlasting Summer. I kind of missed her that time when I make a video on her, and I managed to get the good ending on her on one of my YouTube channels before I delete it. But yeah, it's good to see her again on this game again. We went in having a little bit of a hangover at that time, and then a new band just came in. They called themselves as Zed Feels or Z. I don't know what pronunciation I should use for that one, but I think the keyboardist spoke to us and said it's supposed to pronounce Zed Feels, like an anime robot or something. Until a familiar voice just came in, and it was Ellie. Ellie Kobayashi herself, in the flesh, standing in the stage, singing one of her signature songs, Last Night. And Nikolai was not actually expecting that to happen. He praised a lot to Ellie. She's good at music, she's good at singing, but every time when Ellie glared at him to the point that she got distracted. But she completely focused about her doing on guitar stuff and with the synergy with his band members. And that night, Himitsu left the note again. Kinda worried, I would say, but nothing special about that one, you know. Until a phone call just came in. Ichinose called again, for the second time, and Nikolai is willing to listen about his words about his father. Then he left us one clue. Name was Akira Shinji, one of its co-worker with Nikolai's father. After that, he said just to write it down, but no, do not write it down or else he will be traced or something. As my speculation, just my speculations, okay? As the reason why he said memorize it instead of write it down, there might be someone who are spying onto us. I don't know. Okay, there might be spying onto us, or someone is wiretapping on the telephone. So after that event, Nikolai is on its way right now to find a clue in this one and get the overall answer about the connections to his father. And this is the progress where we left off in the previous video, and that is why we are going to continue for the 5th episode of Love, Money, Rock and Roll series. And by the way, before we continue, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and also hit the like button if you find this video enjoyable. And also, don't forget to hit the notification bell to get notified for the upcoming episodes of the series. Anyway, this is the 5th episode of Love, Money, Rock and Roll. Enjoy. I woke up early, with a headache, the dry horrors, and a terrible feeling of the meaninglessness of existence. Good thing I always had aspirin in my medical kit. Then again, that was the only thing in there in the first place. After washing the pill down with a couple of glasses of cold water, I figured that yesterday didn't really end too badly. At least today I hadn't sleeping all the way to lunchtime. The memories started to return slowly. Vicious and heavy. They surfaced in my mind, bringing with them a tugging unease. I suddenly felt uncomfortable, alone in this giant empty house. I definitely needed to go to school. At this rate, I might really get myself expelled. It wasn't about my attendance, of course. I just desperately wanted to be among other people. I stepped out onto the street, with chilly wind immediately chasing away the last remnants of my hangover. It was still too early even for Himitsu. Oh well, we talked yesterday. Although the early parts seemed to only apply to me, life in Tokyo was already in full swing. The office workers were on their way to work, clad in identical snow-white shirts. Grocery stores and all kinds of shops were opening up. Cheerful old women were striking up conversations with each other. I was walking down the street, enjoying life. I never noticed before that small things like these made the world a much more attractive place than I thought it was. Couldn't anything really go wrong? Fearing for my own safety, even my own life, made me realize I wasn't ready to change anything yet. Just up and return to the USSR? No, that was absurd. It was the rambling of a drunken teenager. But what was I supposed to do then? Fight here and now? Or just go with the flow? After all, there was no way a life as wonderful as this could be senselessly cruel at the same time, was there? The world turned its friendly, smiling face to me, and my stomach responded with as friendly a rumble. And to think that when the morning had started, even the thought of food had made me want to puke. I entered a small restaurant and happily ate a bowl of ramen. All of my worries faded into the background, and hope glimmered in the distance. I was just getting all worked up about nothing. There was nothing scary really going on. For a year and a half, I'd been living as if in an anabiosis, so now every little thing seemed like a problem of galactic proportions. If something really did happen to me, for example, I received a visit from the police, I'd end up having a heart attack. I just needed to calm down, wait it out, and all my problems would resolve themselves. And if not, I deal with them as they came. Once I got to school, I was swept up in the crowds of students. I'd spent a good half an hour in the ramen shop and it wasn't as early in the morning by then. Japanese, Americans, French, Russians. Sometimes it seemed to me that my school was a little too international. It was a good thing, though. I didn't feel as alien among them as, for instance, sitting at a narrow counter on a low chair in a typical Japanese snack bar. Several guys shook my hand on the run. Some girl even flashed me a smile. I recalled being in the same class as the girl last year, but wouldn't be able to remember her name even if my life depended on it. I was close to saying I was happy, but... Oh, Catherine, hello. At the lockers, I ran into Catherine. Hi. You're early today. She gave an unexpectedly polite response. Yeah, I skipped yesterday. Can't keep teaching school forever. Decided to get yourself together, really? Catherine looked at me, wide-eyed, then frowned. Oh, I see. She had that smile on her lips again. I ignored it and said simply, yeah, so much has happened lately. I may have been feeling fine, but I couldn't hide my swollen face. Especially not from Catherine. Well, so I... Enough already. What are you staring at me for? You know it all. Emotions changed quickly on Catherine's face. The surprise gave way to indifference. She lost interest. That's not what I... Or maybe that too. I don't want to fight anymore. I just think you have to understand my reaction. Put yourself in my shoes or something. What are you even talking about? Catherine asked nonchalantly. About everything. Don't pretend you don't understand. Don't understand what? I didn't even know how to talk to her anymore. Alright, so you want me to understand you? I do now. Oh, here we go again. Is that your way of mocking me? Why would I be mocking you? Well, that's what I should be asking you. First, you come back for no reason, then you transfer into my class and pretend like that's how it should be. Show at least a morsel of respect. What should I respect you for? I couldn't hear Catherine. I had already forgotten to even think about yesterday's events and what I'd been thinking about this morning. Or just don't talk to me anymore. I'm tired of degrading myself for you, struggling to get you to at least treat me like a human. It looked like she wasn't ready for this kind of reaction. So make your choice. I turned around and ran up the stairs to the second floor. Oh, hey Nick, where you've been? Kyosuke was as carefree as always. Drinking? I snarled. Gotcha, you're not in the mood. Talk to you later then. He responded sadly. Catherine entered the class almost immediately after me. There were still several minutes left until the bell, and it dragged on tormentingly slowly. It'll be easier during the lesson. It'll be easier, I kept telling myself. Meanwhile, Catherine wasn't paying any attention to me at all. And now this is crossing the line now. It had to stop being mockery and turn into outright cruelty. Had she crashed headfirst riding a bike in those United States of hers? Right into the Grand Canyon? The bell finally rang. During the lesson, I could only think about Catherine. A burning, to the point of shuddering, desire to turn around and look at her swelling in my chest. I couldn't manage to distract myself with anything. Yesterday's conversation with Ichinose and the mysterious thread hanging over my head seemed to have suddenly lost all meaning. A single thought was pulsating in my head that I needed to sort out my relationship with her once and for all. I could figure out if I still loved her or not later, and now I needed to... Wait, needed to what? Ah, god damn, I can't do this anymore. Hang on, I think I hear the thud. Oh wait, yeah, I'll check that later. With a loud thud, I hit the desk with my forehead. Anakin-kun, are you alright? I heard muffled laughter and whispers. Couldn't be better, Sensei. Just checking if there's anything in my head. The teacher didn't even raise an eyebrow. He'd seen a lot working at the school. Maybe you should go to the doctor. No, I'm telling you. I'm fine. Well, do what you want. Just don't interfere with the lesson. After that circus performance, I felt a bit better. Wait, what? Surprisingly, the planet kept spinning, paying no attention to my problems. The bell for break rang. Nice. I was approached by Michael. It seemed like he wasn't going to start a conversation for some reason. He looked me over intently. What is it? I finally asked. You're not yourself today. Is it because of yesterday? Yesterday? How did he know? I mean, the conversation in the cafe. Oh, yeah, right. The cafe. No, it's not about that. Everything's fine. Or will be, even if it isn't now. Without even turning her head, Catherine walked past us. I stared after her and must have made quite a face. I see, Michael said dispassionately. What do you see? I was getting worked up again. Are you all of you Americans like this? Like what? Like this. Completely disregarding of other people, poking your noses in others' business, insensitive, cold, and cruel. I think you're talking about someone specific right now. The gritting of my teeth must be inaudible to the whole class. Yeah, Nikolai, just chill the fuck down, alright? You just came to school after a hangover yesterday. Come on. Okay, you know what? I have to tone down my volume this time, or someone else may hear my voice. You know what, Misha? Fuck you. Got it? Fuck you to hell. Last thing I need are your questions and observations. Don't meddle in other people's lives. Mind your own. I stood up, looked him up and down, but Michael didn't look away. I'm just hoping no one is awake right now. I'm hoping no one is awake right now. It's around 1:02 a.m. As you can see, hang on. As you can see right now, it's 1:02 a.m. Hang on, how am I supposed to adjust the screen? Alright, hang on a second. Alright. Alright, there you go. It's 1:03 a.m. and I'm still recording, hoping no one can hear my voice at this rate. Anyway, back to the video. Then I pushed him away with my shoulder. I left the room. Good God, what the hell was I doing? Just lashing out at one of the few people who still at least talked to me. Maybe he wanted to help. After all, Michael's no Kyosuke. The latter would immediately start to run around, dolefully wringing his hands. And what good would that make? Sometimes it really is better to look at the situation with a cool head. I definitely had to apologize to him. But later. I just wanted to switch gears and get away from the classroom. To be alone, or at least with someone who wouldn't pry into my soul. With Himitsu, for example. Yeah, right, as if she wouldn't. Although, if she were to see my present condition, Himitsu would probably understand. So... Roof or Himitsu? Yeah, Himitsu. Who if not her? Who else could I rely on? I hesitated a while in front of the door. Of course, everyone in there knew me, but that's probably the reason why they also drew completely incorrect conclusions. Himitsu was sitting in her place, reading a magazine of some kind. Hi. Oh, Nico-kun. Sorry about yesterday. I... It's okay. You're alright, aren't you? I seem to be still kicking. I demonstratively felt myself all over. Himitsu gave me a questioning look. I dropped by because, it's boring in our class. Kyosuke still tells us stories about manga and anime. Nothing interesting besides that. I'm glad you're here. And how are you doing? There was absolutely nothing to talk about. Seen Catherine already? But that didn't mean I should have chosen the worst possible topic. But Himitsu replied calmly. Just briefly, in the hallway. Ah, I see. And how is she? Don't you know? Me? How would I know if she doesn't talk to me? I mean, she does, but not about that. Himitsu's expression grew sad. I can't make sense of her. It's like she's conducting some goddamn psychological experiment on me. She wants to be the next Jung or something. I guess I was speaking much louder than would be appropriate. It distracted Himitsu's classmates and they grew silent, staring at me. But by that point I was too fired up and I didn't realize how stupid I looked. What are you looking at? We have performances like this every day in my class. What, do I look like a clown to you? Do I? Some guy, one of the sturdier side, took a couple steps towards me and tried to reach out his hand. Senpai, don't touch me. I said quietly, casting a cold look at him. You know what? Never mind of that. Nico-kun! Himitsu uttered pain audible in her voice. What? I shouted. And at that moment, I felt inexpressibly disgusted, revolted by my behavior. Ashamed in front of the students, Himitsu, Michael, and myself. What have I turned into? Was it about the note? The calls? The threats? No, it was about me. I quickly left the class, eyes cast down. My feet carried me all the way on their own. I only stopped after I reached the school's old wing. But you can't run from yourself. Of course, most of all, I wanted to run home. Close the doors, unplug the phone, crawl under a blanket, and lay there for a week or so. Until the shame is gone. Until everyone had forgotten what I'd done. But that's now how it worked. The planet really did keep spinning no matter what I thought of it. And another weird thing, it didn't revolve around me. Michael might have resented me. Some of Himitsu's classmates clearly thought I was an idiot, but all that will be forgotten by tomorrow. And I keep working myself up, convinced that absolutely everyone in the whole world was only occupied with thoughts about me. I would be hiding, remembering the stupid things I did, burning with shame over and over again. No, enough. I resolutely headed back to class. I'll start by apologizing to Michael. I was passing Himitsu's class when I heard a familiar voice coming from inside. It was Catherine. Huh. What was she doing there? The escapade I pulled a couple of minutes ago was immediately forgotten. Now I was only interested in their conversation. Okay. Alright, now animation. I hid behind the door and listened carefully. Nikolai, I can clearly see you from here. Come on. I think every student knows about that. Good thing the glass pane at that classroom is not see-through. Thank God for the thin walls of Japanese schools. It was also quite fortunate that Catherine occupied the desk closest to the door, even if it wasn't her class. That's the Catherine I knew. Students walking through the hallway gave me weird looks. I didn't mind. They couldn't make things any worse. Not what you think. I caught the end of the sentence. No, I'm just glad you're back. Are you now? Well, if you want to search for hidden meanings in my every word, I'll leave you to it. It didn't really sound like a conversation between old friends. I might have expected that. No, actually should have expected that. Don't pretend nothing happened. But nothing did happen. And hasn't been happening for the past year and a half. And even if we were pretending, we were good at it. Himitsu was talking very loudly but suddenly went silent, gasping for air, as if after a desperate scream. Why now? Of all times? If it was up to me, I would never have returned here. How convenient for you. You leave when you're most needed, and it's not your fault. You come back when you're not needed at all, and it's not your fault. And how are we to live now? Tell me. I'd never expected a reaction like this from Himitsu. Well, sure, I'd known for a while that she was no longer the 8-year-old girl I had met when I still didn't know a single word of Japanese. In many ways, she was more mature than me. But to see someone close to you like that, I guess I just wasn't ready. And what should I do? Tell me. Why in the world should I adjust myself to you, to him, to the two of you? For you, life is so simple. Well, it sure is complicated for you. You couldn't even come and say hi, explain the situation properly, all because of your pride. Pride, you say? Smirked. Alright, that's not a good sign, I would say. That is not a good sign for this one. More like self-respect. You could use some yourself. You could use some yourself, acting like it. Like what? Come on, tell me. How am I acting? The way you couldn't? It was weird that none of Himitsu's classmates was paying attention to the two of them. This certainly didn't seem like a friendly conversation. If only he knew the whole truth. Then tell him. I can't, Catherine said quietly. So quietly I almost couldn't hear her. Oh, so that's how it is. Then what do you intend to do next? You can't just ignore his feelings, can you? And what about my feelings? Has anyone thought about them? Her feelings? What? But Catherine immediately continued. I can't stand being near him. Then don't be. Free us from your presence. It'll be easier for everyone. Don't worry. I will. There's less than a year of school left. Yes, but for this entire year. It won't break you, I'm sure. You're just... Oh, senpai! One of Himitsu's classmates called out to me. Oh boy, I immediately broke into a run. Hope the girls didn't notice me. Yeah, I kinda hope that as well. I ran back to my class, almost knocking down 2 students who were too slow to dodge me. Bro, why are you doing that? I jumped behind my desk and tried to quickly catch my breath. By then, I had completely forgotten about Michael. But what the ever-living hell was that? I could understand Himitsu worrying about me, about how Catherine's return might have affected me. But her tone, that wording. And what about Catherine herself? I can't stand being near him? If only he knew the entire truth. Whatever happened between us, I didn't think anything I'd done or said deserved being treated like this. You alright, Nick? Yes, everything's fine. I blurted out. Kyosuke gave me a somehow sympathetic look and glanced toward Michael, who was peacefully reading a book, paying no attention to his surroundings. Yeah. You know, A lot's happened. I really wanted him to understand. Yeah, but still, and Kyosuke was right. I very slowly stood up and approached Michael. Alright, the microphone. Ah, shit. Alright. So, nothing worthwhile would come to my head. Sorry I acted like that. It's just, it's just that things have been complicated recently. He closed the book and looked at me coldly. I understand. It's alright. No, I really didn't mean any harm. I just snapped. I'm telling you, I understand. Yeah, that was just like Michael. One thing in words and another in thoughts. Whatever. I certainly wasn't in any mood to try and prove anything to him. The bell rang. The lesson had been going for 5 minutes already, but Catherine was yet to return to the classroom. And to top it off, her things had disappeared too. I couldn't tell for sure if they were there when I returned. I just hadn't paid attention. Finally, the school day came to an end. I felt a pressing need to talk to Himitsu, even though I didn't really know what I would say. And what could I say? With everything that had happened today, I completely forgot about yesterday's conversation with Ichinose. And he gave me a lead too. Himitsu, Catherine. But what about the note? The call? I had to find out what this was all about, right? This decision seemed like it could be seriously change my life from here on. To go to Himitsu, or try to solve the mysteries of my father's past. Alright, got two choices here. Go to Himitsu or look for answers. Now, on my previous video, as I mentioned, this could be the final choice on the early access beta, if I remember correctly. I think that was first phase, I would say. Alright, now the choice that I made on this one was actually go to Himitsu because I love Himitsu ever since when she was introduced at the alpha access of the game. So I should go with Himitsu this time. I love Himitsu, not gonna lie. I really, really love Himitsu. Wasn't I too frequent a visitor in her class today? The guys were grinning at me as they left the class. The girls casting meaningful looks. Yeah, can't even visit my childhood friend without gossip starting up. But then Himitsu herself appeared. Noticing me, she grew flustered for a moment. Probably because of the fit I'd thrown earlier. Oh yeah. Yeah, that earlier. But the usual smile almost immediately lit up her face. Nico-kun. Hey, let's go home together. Sure. Himitsu was merely striding along the sidewalk, enjoying the warm autumn day. Meanwhile, I was gathering my thoughts, trying to decide on how to begin this difficult conversation. Have you talked to Kachel already? You can't postpone death just by taking a deep breath. You've asked already. We've just seen each other briefly in the hallway. She flashed a cute smile and turned to me, and it seemed like her hair was ablaze with the bright rays of the sun. I grew embarrassed and looked away. I want to say, I don't want you to think I was eavesdropping on purpose. It's just turned out this way. Anyway, I heard you talking today. What do you mean, talking? Her expression didn't change. Could it really be that she didn't understand? With Catherine. I heard you argue. I wanted to add about me, but stopped short. You mean that? We weren't arguing at all. I just haven't seen each other for a while. I'm so glad Cathy-chan has returned. What? I even stopped in my tracks and stared dumbly at Himitsu. But I heard with my own ears. So you're telling me that wasn't an argument? A fight? Of course not. You just imagine it. Or was he or okay, hang on. Or was she so sure no one was eavesdropping on them? After all, it's impossible to lie so blatantly, looking the other person in the eyes. At least Himitsu certainly couldn't. Well, alright, I had to agree. I couldn't accuse her of lying, could I? Then what were you talking about? Nothing in particular, really. You know, girl talk. That's nice. I didn't think you had anything in common. Anger flashed across Himitsu's face, and she didn't even try to hide it. Why not? We hadn't seen each other for a long time. What if I missed her too? I mean, we were friends, she clarified, realizing she got carried away. Well, at least one of us is happy about her return. I smiled as genuinely as I could. Himitsu blushed. He immediately changed the topic. Oh, she's so cute. And how was your day? Normal, I guess. Dropped by this ramen shop in the morning. You know, the one at the railroad. Nico-kun, she pouted. What now? You're eating nasty things again. It's not nasty. Your words would make the owner cry so much he'd oversalt the ramen. Oh wait, that's true. Yeah. Fine, but you can't eat all the time. I don't. You could say I'm on a king's diet. Thanks to you, of course. Of course. She pinched my okay. Hey, that hurt. I didn't even notice when the conversation changed to a normal course and the two of us once again became almost like siblings. That's how it was supposed to be, right? Despite Catherine, no matter what. Alright, you had it coming. Oh. Oh. Okay, Nicola, you carried her on your shoulders and you're trying to run away as fast as possible and get into your house as fast as possible. I would say no. Okay, she is not happy about that. She's clearly not happy about that one. Wow. Yeah, I grabbed Himitsu, threw her over my shoulder, and ran down the street past dumbfounded people. Wait, it's Japan. I don't know if this is inappropriate for them. Come on, show some cultural appreciation in this. Okay, I'm done. Okay, I'm fucking done with this. Nico-kun, let me down. What are you doing? Yeah, I can keep this up. Come on. Excuse me. But I didn't give a damn about anything. The uptight Japanese decency, the tiredness that I surprisingly wasn't feeling, Himitsu's fruitless attempts to break free. I felt alive. Nick, aw, she said quieter now as she stopped struggling. Oh boy. I stopped and let her down to the ground. Okay. Alright, hang on. Let me compose myself first. Ah. What a life. Come on. Yumitsu grabbed the lapels of my jacket and pressed herself to me. Now my head is spinning. Yeah, overdid it, I guess. But it was fun, right? You wouldn't do this with Catty-chan, she said, her head still cast down. Of course, she's heavier. I tried to let it off with a stupid joke. Well, let's go home. My attempted joke ended in an imminent failure. The remaining way to the house, we only exchanged a couple meaningless phrases. Over the past few days, we'd been drifting further and further away, and this moment of closeness ended up being just a memory. Well, here we are. I guess I'll make dinner. Himitsu looked like she was asking a store manager, facing down the start of her shift. Nah, no need. I've got things to do today. I gotta go to the bank. I immediately lied to escape my unnecessary questions. although it didn't look like Himitsu was interested. Alright, see you tomorrow then. She smiled almost genuinely. I didn't respond, only watched her to the doors of her house. What the actual hell? I was overwhelmed by my own thoughts. To get at least some kind of distraction, I was shooting pixel monsters on the TV screen and didn't even notice as evening came. I was starving, and all my thoughts were focused on food. I wish I could have another bowl of that ramen. Hot, freshly made, with delightfully tasting noodles, flavorful broth, pieces of meat, half an egg, herbs and spices. You know what? Why not just be a chef, Nikolai? I mean, you can literally make your own food right there all by yourself, I guess. Who could possibly resist that? True, true. It's actually true. Okay, another ringtone from a telephone. I rushed to the hallway and had already put my boots on when the silence that enveloped the house was broken by the telephone. Yeah, perfect timing, I would say. I wasn't going to answer. It had to be Himitsu. Her upset face appeared before my eyes. No, at least today she was going to let me be alone. I reluctantly picked up. Um, hello? After a long silence, a familiar voice sounded on the other end. Oh, Ichinose. Uh, Nikolai? Ichinose speaking. Father's old friend sounded agitated. I immediately remembered yesterday's conversation. Uh, Nikolai, I'm calling about our conversation yesterday. I'm listening. I'm calling to say you should look for Akira. Shouldn't? Why? You didn't. He stopped short. No, to be honest, I didn't really have the time. Good then. I've got the news that he died? Wait. So, alright, the clue that he gave us is already gone. He's dead. Died? Happy children voices came in from the street. The last rays of autumn's sun were pleasantly warm, and I was sweating bullets of cold sweat. Ichinose-san, this isn't related to my father, is it? To his work? No, not at all. His voice was calming. They say it was a heart attack. He wasn't a young man. After a short silence, he added, "We all face it one day." I'm very sorry. Forget it. You didn't know him. But still, if he was your friend, a father's friend, well, I'm sorry that I can't help you anymore either. What do you mean? With your father's work, Akira was my only guess. And don't mention it. You've already done everything you could. If only I could do more. The standard Japanese exchange of pleasantries had already started to tire me out. Anyway, Ichinose-san, if you remember something, I'd be happy to hear any information. Of course. Good night. He had to be lying, right? But why would you lie about a man's death if he didn't die? What if I were to rush out looking for him and end up finding this Akira? In that case, the lie would have the opposite effect. No, it was probably just a dead end. If I wanted to unravel this whole situation, I had to try another approach from the beginning. Wait, you walk out? Again? Alright, never mind. When I left the ramen shop, the lights of distant stars were already shining brightly in the sky, like small lanterns hanging high above the clouds. I recalled stars in Russia, being the brightest at the end of August. A cold, damp wind blew from the ocean. I shuddered, and my heart felt unbelievably heavy. Maybe somewhere in the very center of Tokyo, the nightlife was still boiling, but my district usually fell asleep with twilight. The streets grew empty. with all the stragglers hurrying home, where they were awaited by a loving family and a hot dinner, completely unlike me and my ramen. If only I hadn't had a fight with Himitsu today. But could you really call that a fight? No yelling, no dish breaking, not even any face punching. Only strained silence, unspoken words, and indecision. Yeah, exactly. Indecision. I just didn't know how I felt about her, especially now after Catherine had returned. Accepting her love would be the easiest option, but wouldn't I only hurt both of us even more then? Would these feelings end up genuine, or would I just swap her from a housemaid to a lover? And in the end, Himitsu would simply end up hating me, as well as herself. But rational thinking is something to attempt with a clear mind. The empty house met me with a ringing silence in the cold of an autumn night. For a long while I stood next to the phone, not thinking about anything in particular. No, I almost definitely wasn't going to call anyone. I was waiting for them to call me. The clock's hands were nearing midnight. I looked outside, but her windows were dark. Why do I always do this? First push people away, then agonize over it? Finally, my tiredness seized me, and turned out to be the deliverance I craved. I stretched down on the bed, closed my eyes, and immediately plunged into the pleasant state when you know you're about to fall asleep. That's it? Whew. Okay, nice. So okay, what day is it right now? September 11, 1987. Just the flashing lights. Alright. Alright, we're gonna have to save this part up for the next video. And wait, I'm still recording? Yeah, it's past 40 minutes, so I'm gonna have to save this thing up for the next video, maybe a couple days ahead from now. But, well, that's pretty much anything about it on the 5th episode of Love, Money, Rock and Roll series. So thank you so much guys for watching, and please do not forget to hit the subscribe button and also hit the like button if you find this video enjoyable. And also hit the notification button to get notified for the upcoming videos regarding to this series. Now I'm glad to make this one. It really has a sentimental value, and I really appreciate that you guys watch this, even though that it will take minutes to watch the entire video, but it's quite reasonable. Just make sure to not skip any important parts of this of each episode in the series. But anyway, that's it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care and stay safe. Goodbye.